nerve from the eye leaves. All right, you have these major blood vessels here. Okay. Now, if the person's been strangled, you look in here, you know, by either hand or pillow. Okay. You're going to see lots of little, what they call rosebuds. Okay, these little blooms of red dots all over the back. When you were being strangled, blood was being kept from draining from the head. So as a result, it was being pushed back up into the head and back into these arteries, and these tiny little arteries in the retina ruptured. Okay? And you may hear this. You watch CSI, they will say, you know, did you see any presence of petechiae? Petechiae are those little rosebud-like appearances, those ruptured blood vessels in the back of the eye. If you have somebody who is diabetic or an older parent and you hear about macular degeneration, right here, just next to the optic disc, where the optic nerve leaves, right next to it, right here, is a tangle of blood vessels. That's called the macula. This starts to break down when they have the disease that's called macula densa. Okay? And you can start to go along with that. So, all right, so enough of the looking forward to the eye there. So that's the hyoid bone. I already told you about where we're going for the paranasal sinus. This is the picture. I talked about the vomer bone. All right, I gave you a hint about the palatine bone. All right, remember, it is going to be behind the maxilla. I have my finger on one palatine process, a finger on the other palatine process. This is still the maxilla. Look back. Excuse me. Look right here. Remember I said there was a squiggly line right there? Okay. This is no longer, my two fingers are not on the maxilla anymore. They are on the palatine bone. And these are on the horizontal plates. Okay? Horizontal plates. So this is a tough one because they sound so close to one another. And they are close to one another. Maxilla has two palatine processes. The palatine bone has two horizontal plates. Okay? Two horizontal plates right here. So maxilla, palatine bone.
That's the same thing as the horizontal plate?
It's made up of two horizontal plates. I have my fingers right here. They're just like you had one palatine process here, one palatine process there. This palatine bone consists of two horizontal plates. There's one here and there's one here. If you see where it's indented like that, that means it belongs to that bone. Okay? So it belongs to that bone. All right, the mandible. We'll come back to the mandible. The mandible is the jaw. And the mandible, there is a, believe it or not, there is a logic to this. Okay? We look at the first three. Okay? The first three, body, rami, angle. Okay? Body, rami, angle. All right. Okay. Look at the first one. It says body. All right. As it turns out, there really are only two big parts to the jaw. It's going to be the horizontal piece, right here, that contains all the teeth. And then it's going to be the piece that curves up that will attach it to the skull. Those are only the main two big pieces. Okay? The main two big pieces. And as it turns out, the one that has the teeth is called the body. The one that has the teeth is called the body. This one that turns up, you look at it, it has almost like some horns on it, like a goat or deer, okay, antlers. Well, the Latin word for a deer horn is ramus. You know, you hear the thing advertised for, you know, Dodge trucks. They're ram tough. Okay. Well, rams are called rams because of that intricate curled horn. So the term for antlers or horns is ramus. So the anatomist said, you know, that looks like an antler's horn. We're going to call this the ramus. Okay? So look at number one. Body. Look at number two. Ramus. Okay? Look at number three. Angle. The angle is right here where it goes from vertical. Where it goes from horizontal to vertical. Right here. Where we go from horizontal and then all of a sudden we start to turn vertical. That's considered the angle. Look what I did. 1, 2, 3. Body, ramus, angle. They follow one another. Look at number 4. It says condylar process. All right. You dealt with condyles before. If you remember the skull, remember the occipital condyles? I said they would fit on the first vertebrae, the first cervical vertebrae. And I said that's what allowed the skull to rock up and down. Condyles have that look, like they're the bottom of a rocker. Okay? If you look up here, right in this area, you're going to see a curved, smooth area. Okay? It almost looks like it could be part of a rocking chair. This is where the jaw attaches to the skull. This is the hinge the jaw will open on. Remember your mandibular fossa? I had you draw that straight line from the foramen magnum. You went over the carotid foramen and then you ended up in the mandibular fossa. This fits into that mandibular fossa. You opening and closing your jaw is this rocking back and forth in that mandibular fossa. All you have to do is just go ahead, put the jaw onto the skull and move it back and forth. And you see how right here, there's the mandibular fossa. Right here. There is going to be the condylar process. Take the condylar process, put it right in the mandibular fossa, and there is your jaw. There is your joint where the jaw will rotate. And you'll have the chewing function, moving the jaw up and down. Simply because of this condylar process fitting in that mandibular fossa. All right, that's the you look and that's the next one down there. Gee, why would I put condylar process? Well, it's at the end of the rama, or ramus. All right, you're going to say, well, gee, what about the other one? There's two of them on here. I got this rounded thing, and then I got this pointy thing. Well, this pointy thing doesn't do anything. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It provides attachment for muscles. And it does provide attachment for muscles. And that is your coronoid process. Now, these two give students a lot of trouble because condylar and coronoid sound very similar. Make a note to yourself. Whenever you see the word condyle, think rocking chairs. Okay? Because you're usually involved with a joint. Condyles are usually involved with a joint. Coronoid processes are just attachment for muscles. All right, number 6. Number 6, well, again, look what I have. Condylar process, coronoid process, and look what I have here, mandibular notch. Well, this mandibular notch follows the coronoid and the condylar process. And if you look, the notch is always at the edge of a bone and there's always a dip. Well, there's the coronoid process. I'm sorry, there's the condylar process. There's the coronoid process. Right here, look at this dip. This curve, this indentation. That is going to be your mandibular notch. Your mandibular notch. An indentation. You're going to see a scapular notch on it. So any sort of an indentation, a curved indentation will be a notch as soon as a mandibular notch. We learned what an alveolar process is in the maxilla. Okay? We learned that that's the socket teeth will fit in. Well, it's the same thing for the mandible. Here's this guy's jaw. Tough not having a dental plan.
Yeah.
Again, each one of these sockets, an alveolar process, a space for the tooth to fit. The last two we have are foramens. Okay, are foramens. And you have something that's called a mental foramen and a mandibular foramen. The mental foramen is the easier of the two to find. It's always on the body. And you see this one here has been marked time and time and time again with a pen. And people say, okay, the mental foramen is right here. Let me put the pen in there. You have a nerve coming out. This is what it really looks like without all the pen ink on here. You have a nerve that comes out that runs along the jaw right here. It runs underneath the jaw and then it exits out of the jaw and it innervates the cheek. Well, if you've ever had Novocaine for any of these teeth back here, they'll go in, they'll make an injection into the jaw, and then you'll start to feel the jaw numb up, and the next thing you know, the cheek's numb and your lip's kind of numb on there. You're biting on the lip. That is really cool. I can bite on my lip. I don't feel anything. Well, the reason why that's all numb is because you put the Novocaine back here, and you put this entire section of nerve asleep, including when it came out of this mental foramen. That's why the cheek got numb. The last one you got is mandibular foramen. That's on the other side. That's on the inside. Again, you can see somebody has marked this with a pen on there, but there it is right there. There is the mandibular foramen. Again, you're going to have the exit of a nerve coming out of there. Okay? The exit of a nerve coming out of there. If you've ever had a condition called temporal mandibular temporal mandibular, I can't think of the last word. But anyway, what happens is you have pain when the jaw opens and closes, and you have pain right here in the jaw. Well, the reason why you're having that pain is because of the nerve coming out of that mandibular fossa. It runs right up through here on here. So that's why you have that problem with the jaw. Okay, that takes care of the skull on there. I wanted to get started on the vertebral column, but we're just not going to have time today. Tomorrow we will be starting right here, where it talks about a typical vertebrae. I know this got really goofed up here. This is Microsoft Word in auto format. And, you know, auto format is a real pain in the butt. We'll be starting right here where it says a typical vertebrae has the following structures. Everything else above this would be for extra credit. I'll talk a little bit, very briefly about it. You're going to see we're going to go through this very quickly. This is about 15, 20 minutes worth of stuff. And then we're going to get started on the arm. I want to get through as much as I can tomorrow, so that you will have seen as much as possible. You should be reviewing now. And really, the best thing you could be doing is coming in and looking at the bones, okay, and trying to figure out where things are, which means you're going to need a tutor, okay. Well, the schedule for the tutors is on your Blackboard site. It's on the announcement page. So I would strongly encourage you to do that if you could. All right. I'm sorry? There's only 25 questions. So look at it this way. Let's be practical about the problem. You have 25 questions. What have we spent the most on? You can bet that there are going to be 10 questions on the skull, which means I have 15 questions left to spread across. Okay, and that usually means if there's 15 questions, that there will be 5 questions on the arm and 5 questions on the leg. Okay, so now we've got 20 out of the 25 questions accounted for, which means there's 5 questions left that I could do like a vertebrae or scapula or something like that. So if you just are dealing in pure numbers, the skull, the arm, and the leg is what you should be concentrating on. Because I just said, that's 20 out of 25. Okay? That's, 4/5. That's not a bad score on there. So that's where you should be concentrating, is in that area. All right, so